He warned her not to embarrass him at a luxury dinner, but he had no idea the entire room was waiting for her, not him. I came back after 7 years, but it felt like I never really left. The road to the old town was still narrow, still broken in places. Dust rose behind my car, floating in the air like memories I had tried to forget. On both sides, dry trees stood quietly, their branches thin and tired, as if time had passed over them without mercy. I remember driving on this same road once before, my heart full of anger, my mind full of plans that did not include her. At the end of the road stood the farmhouse. White walls, slightly cracked now. A blue wooden door, faded by sun and rain. The place looked smaller than I remembered, but heavier somehow, like it was holding secrets. I parked the car and sat there for a moment, my hands tight on the steering wheel. I told myself I was here only because I had to be, because business had brought me back, because the past no longer mattered. That was a lie. I stepped out of the car, and that was when I saw her. Ayla stood near the old wooden fence, her hands covered in soil. A basket of fresh vegetables rested at her feet. Her hair was tied back simply, no makeup, no jewelry. She looked calm, grounded, like someone who had learned how to survive storms. When she noticed me, she froze. The air between us felt thick, heavy with words that had never been said. For a long second, we just stared at each other. 7 years disappeared, then rushed back all at once. "I didn't think you'd come," she said finally. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "I had to," I replied, though I wasn't sure why my voice sounded rough. She wiped her hands on her clothes, slowly, as if giving herself time to breathe. I noticed small lines on her face that hadn't been there before. Not age, life. Hard work. Waiting. I remembered her laughter from years ago. How easily she used to smile. That smile was gone now, replaced by something calmer, deeper. We stood there like strangers pretending not to remember everything. 7 years ago, I had left this town with fire in my chest. I believed I was meant for more money, more respect, more life. I believed she was holding me back. I believed she had betrayed me. I didn't stay long enough to hear the truth. I just left. Now I was back, wearing expensive clothes, driving a car that showed success. And yet, standing in front of her, I felt small. "I'm only here for a few days," I said, breaking the silence. She nodded. I figured. Tonight, there was a dinner. A luxury estate outside the city. Marble floors. Crystal lights. Important people. Investors who trusted me. People who saw me as a success story. Somehow, I had asked Ayla to come with me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe guilt. Maybe I wanted her to see what I had become. As we drove toward the city, the sun slowly fell behind us. The car was quiet, filled only with the sound of the road. Ayla looked out the window, her face calm, unreadable. I felt nervous. I didn't want questions. I didn't want her past to touch my present. So I said it. "Please," I said, still staring ahead, "don't embarrass me tonight." The words hung in the air longer than I expected. She turned her head slowly and looked at me. Not angry. Not hurt. Just aware. "I won't," she said softly. Her voice was gentle, but something in it made my chest tighten. I didn't know it then, but that moment mattered. Because while I thought I was taking her into my world, I had no idea that everyone at that dinner was already waiting to meet her. The luxury estate glowed like a dream built from money and light. Tall gates opened slowly as we arrived, and the car rolled onto a smooth stone path. Soft yellow lights lined the driveway, reflecting off glass walls and polished marble. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. The kind of place where mistakes were hidden under beauty. Ayla stepped out of the car beside me. She wore a simple dress, nothing flashy, nothing expensive. Still, the way she carried herself made people look twice. She stood straight, calm, as if she belonged here more than anyone else. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly as we walked toward the entrance. "Yes," she replied. "Just remembering." Her words stayed with me. Inside, warm music floated through the air. People laughed softly, holding crystal glasses filled with wine they barely tasted. The smell of expensive food mixed with fresh flowers. Everyone seemed relaxed, confident. This was my world now. Hands reached out to greet me. "Good to see you again." You've done impressive work. We've been hearing great things. I smiled. I nodded. I thanked them. I felt proud. But then I noticed something strange. As we moved through the room, a few conversations stopped. Some people stared, not at me, but at Ayla. Their eyes followed her quietly, with curiosity and something close to respect. A man near the window whispered, "Is that her?" Another woman leaned closer to her friend. "So that's Ayla." I laughed nervously. "Do you know them?" I asked her under my breath. She shook her head slightly. "Not personally." That didn't calm me. We sat at a long table covered in white cloth and soft candlelight. Ayla sat beside me, hands resting in her lap. She spoke only when spoken to. She smiled politely. She did everything right. Still, something felt wrong. I tried to focus on the conversation around me, business plans, future projects, numbers that once excited me. But my attention kept drifting back to her silence. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't uncomfortable. She was waiting. A flash of the past hit me without warning. 7 years ago. Same town. Same sky. Standing in the dirt road near her farm. My voice raised. Her eyes filled with tears. "You lied to me," I had shouted. She didn't shout back. She never did. She just stood there, shaking, holding something close to her chest. I remembered walking away before she could explain. I told myself I didn't need to hear it. Back at the table, I leaned closer to her. "Why do they know your name?" I whispered. She looked at her plate, calm. "They know my work." I frowned. "What work?" She lifted her eyes slowly and met mine. "You never asked." Her words landed quietly, but they hurt more than shouting ever could. The dinner continued. Courses changed. Glasses refilled. The room stayed warm, but I felt cold. People kept glancing at her. Some smiled at her with respect. One man nodded at her as if thanking her for something. She returned the nod, just once. My heart began to race. I realized something then. All these years, I had believed I was the one who left and survived. The one who moved on. The one who won. But watching her sit there, silent, steady, untouched by the room, I understood something was missing from my story. She wasn't hiding because she was afraid. She was hiding because she didn't need to prove anything. I opened my mouth to speak again, to ask her what was really going on. But before I could, the host of the evening stood up and tapped his glass gently. The room slowly fell silent. "Before dessert," he said with a smile, "there is someone very special I want to recognize tonight." My chest tightened. He paused, then looked directly at Ayla. "Please," he said, "stand." And in that moment, I knew. Whatever I thought I had escaped 7 years ago had followed me here, and it was finally ready to speak. The sound of clapping filled the room. Slow at first, then stronger, louder. Everyone was looking at Ayla. She didn't rush. She didn't look surprised. She stood up slowly, smoothing her dress, her face calm but serious. The soft lights above reflected in her eyes, and for the first time that night, I saw something clear there, strength. I stayed seated. My hands felt cold. My chest felt tight, as if the air had suddenly grown heavy. The host smiled warmly. "Many of you know the success stories behind this estate," he said. "But very few know the real person who made it possible." He gestured toward Ayla. "This woman," he continued, "is the reason this place exists. The vision, the funding, the patience, none of it would be here without her." A quiet murmur passed through the room. My ears rang. I turned to Ayla, my voice low and shaking. "What is he talking about?" She didn't answer right away. She looked at the people around her, then back at me. Her eyes were steady. "7 years ago," she began, her voice calm but clear, "you left me believing I betrayed you." Every word hit me hard. "I didn't," she said. "I never did." My throat tightened. "When your company was failing," she continued, "I sold my land. The farm. Everything I had." I stared at her, my mind refusing to accept the words. "I used the money to save your company," she said. Quietly. Through someone else. I didn't want credit. I just wanted you to succeed. The room was silent now. No music. No movement. My heart pounded. I thought you would come back, she said softly, finally looking straight at me. I thought you would ask questions. I thought you would trust me. I remembered the day I left. How I didn't let her finish a sentence. How I turned my back. And there is one more thing, she said. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached into her bag. For the first time, her calm cracked, but only a little. She pulled out a small photograph and held it out to me. A young boy smiled back from the picture. Dark hair. Familiar eyes. My eyes. He's 6, Ayla said. His name is Adam. The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. He's your son, she whispered. The sound of the room faded. All I could see was the photo. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. You told me not to embarrass you tonight, she said gently. So I didn't interrupt. I didn't explain. I waited. She took a step closer to me. I let you talk about success, she continued. I let you feel proud. I let everyone see the man you became. Her voice was not angry. That was the worst part. Now, she said, they finally see the truth. She turned to the guests. This evening was never about revenge, Ayla said. It was about honesty, about letting the truth arrive when it was ready. The host nodded respectfully. Some guests looked at me with sympathy, others with quiet judgment. Ayla picked up her bag. She looked at me one last time. There were tears in her eyes now, but she didn't let them fall. I loved you, she said softly, but I won't carry your silence anymore. Then she walked away. Her steps were steady, her back straight. The doors closed behind her with a soft sound. I remained seated, surrounded by luxury, applause fading into silence. 7 years ago, I thought I escaped my past. Tonight, I realized something worse. I didn't lose her back then. I lost her forever, right here, in front of everyone.